Hello everyone and welcome to another VOD review of a Legacy Showcase Challenge. This past weekend I achieved a top 4 playing the Decklist in front of you. This is what Bryant and I have been calling version 12 and 12.4, and it's been really great. A couple key aspects of the deck is Galvanic Relay is the truth. It's actually one of the best cards in the deck, and we basically have a transformational sideboard against all of the blue decks where we cut a bunch of, where we add in these 6 cards, 3 relays. Oh, those are off camera. Where we add in 3 relays, 2 decays, and an ooze. And that's with removing 4 ponders, the tendrils, and the ad nauseum, which is kind of insane that we're cutting some of the best cards from our deck in order to bring these cards in. So one of the reasons why we're cutting Ponder is to juke Pyroblasts coming out of Delver and Jeskai Standstill. And Galvanic Relay kind of operates in that cantrip space of this is a card that helps us churn through our deck, except instead of just giving us card selection, actually gives us card advantage. Abrupt Decay is to deal with Null Rods, Aether Canonists, and Aeve is just an unanswerable threat out of all these decks that doesn't get Flusterstormed, it doesn't get Veiled. And it can't even be engineered explosives. If you want to learn more about Aeve, I wrote an article about it when it came out in Modern Horizons 2. The main deck is basically unchanged from what we've been playing. It's incredibly stock at this point. Back on Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame and Relay play really well together, and Rite of Flame is a faster card that we wanted to have access to because that's how we felt the speed of the format was. Cards like Bobble and Strike It Rich are really neat. They're just not what we want to be doing right now. So let's hop into the matches. Recently reinstalled Moto to try and fix some issues, so not a ton of history here. But all right, getting into round 1, their Goldfish history said Esper Vial, and I didn't bother to click on the deck list, and this is going to bite me. Wrong button. So we keep what looks like a pretty strong hand, a couple of brainstorms to start churning through our deck looking for more spells. We have the Ad Nauseam. We drew a Wishclaw Talisman for turn, which wasn't great. We were on the draw this game, so we're just hoping to develop a little bit longer and see what happens. So against a normal Esper Vial deck, they don't have that many Hatebears game 1 outside of Meddling Mage, and a Meddling Mage is a card that we can play through, especially given the context of our hand. However, we do get Wastelanded here, and we get to resolve a Brainstorm, which doesn't find anything, so we're kind of screwed already. And we're just going to put the LED into play and pass the turn. And our opponent is not playing traditional Esper Vial. They're playing more of an actual Esper Hatebears deck that doesn't play the cantrips, doesn't even play Aether Vial, but it plays Thalia. We're just dead here, so I can see there's no point in continuing to play this game. So that's not great. Not a great start to the tournament. Game 2. So game 2, we're on the play, and we end up with this banger of a hand. So what this hand does is it brainstorms looking for a black source. The goal is to put Ad Nauseam back into the deck so that we can just Dark Ritual, Wishclaw Talisman, and then search up the Ad Nauseam. That's the entire goal of this hand. And for that reason, before they can get down Deafening Silence, hold up Flusterstorm or Stifle, which were both cards that were listed in previous deck lists, once I'd bothered to click into them. Our opponent also takes a mulligan to 5 here. So we're going to try to rotate this blue mana into something else, and we find Lotus Petal, which is pretty much exactly what we were looking for. We can't really do anything with this Burning Wish, unfortunately. We'd need like one more card, so if like we put back Wishclaw Talisman and Ad Nauseam, that doesn't really go anywhere. We can't Burning Wish and do anything better than just casting Ad Nauseam. So we're just going to put back Ad Nauseam, and I believe I put back Burning Wish. The other card doesn't matter that much. The reason to keep Chrome Mox is that you can do the Chrome Mox trick with it, where we're going to Ad Nauseam in response to the trigger. So we play out all of our artifacts, put the Wishclaw Talisman on the stack, put the Chrome Marks on the stack, and then with this trigger on the stack, we're going to cast Ad Nauseam, because we can use Wishclaw Talisman as an instant. So we tutor up Ad Nauseam that we just put on top of our deck, and we're going to start flipping. This is all on turn 1, so this game went pretty well. We should have it here already, but it's safe to go down to 6. So we stop there. We imprint something. We imprint the extra wish. And put Tendrils of Agony on the stack. Pretty simple from here. This was the easy game. Our opponent didn't really have free interaction for us, and we were on the play, so we just got to do our thing. Game 3. So game 3, we're on the draw. So, whoop. Man, this button's annoying. So we keep kind of a slower hand that has defense grid, because, like I said, I looked at the decks, they had Stifles and Flusters, so defense grid can help us play around that. We had a cantrip and a couple of lands if there's a Thalia involved. It's going to be a slower game on the draw. It doesn't feel like the Death and Taxes style just like turbo win it really fast. We're going to have to take some time and find an answer, and that's kind of what we're doing here. So we pondered, and I believe I shuffled the ponder because it didn't have any of the cards we were looking for, because right now we're just looking for an answer card to this Deafening Silence. That's kind of priority number 1. So they just run out of Vial, and they continue to hold up this blue mana. So we rip the Abrupt Decay, which is great. But because we don't actually have anything to do, even if this decay resolves, it's pretty free to just pass the turn and see what they do. We don't need to think about brainstorming yet. We're still limited to 1 spell per turn. So depending on what they do here, we could decay, or we could not. I think, we just cast the Brainstorm here, looking for something to do, if we can untap and win. And this is exactly what we were looking for. So the cards that we don't need is basically we don't need this Chrome Mox. This card has nothing to imprint, so it's dead, and we can put back anything else and decide to shuffle if we want to. And the second worst card in our hand is going to be this Rite of Flame, I believe, because this just pinches us on colors, and colors is something that we're very restricted on with this hand. So we shuffle, and we redraw Rite of Flame anyway. I thought I didn't shuffle. Okay. So I actually make a mistake on this turn. So we blow up the Deafening Silence, and then I thought I could go off here. I don't know why I thought that. So I Rite of Flamed out the defense grid, which is kind of a weird play. I could have just like gone LED Opal defense grid and not burned the Rite of Flame. But here we are. That's what I did. Whoops. I don't think it matters too much overall. Like, mana is not our bottleneck at this point. And they're just also leaving up these 3 mana. And now they pass with 4. This screams that they have something. So I'm going to try to put some stuff into play here to avoid it. So they decide to Meddling Mage on Ad Nauseam, which is really interesting. They thought for a while on their turn, if I remember correctly. I think they were trying to figure out what to do with this. This feels like a very early Meddling Mage. So if they just named like, I don't know. I think it's a very reasonable name. So we're going to continue to go off. And my read here is that they have Flusterstorm and not really anything else. Like, we've been fetching a bunch. So if they have Stifle, that's not really it. So we have infinite mana here. We have 3, 4, we have 10 mana. So that's enough to tutor for Echo Beyonds and cast it again. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about here. So we crack all of our mana. And we get to Echo with Grixis floating. And I think our opponent thought about Flusterstorming here, which is why they fetched. Or they just fetched because they thought there was only like 1 Tundra in the deck or something. I don't know. Yeah, they definitely thought about doing something here. But then decided not to. I don't know if they thought that Flusterstorming it wouldn't do anything, because then I could flash it back. But we'll see. So we draw our new 7. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So 6 mana isn't enough to do anything with the Wishclaw Talisman, so step 1 is Brainstorm. Brainstorm finds land and Mox Opal, so this technically gives us mana 7, but I thought that it's still worth playing around Flusterstorm and Stifle and all of that, so why not just Echo again and see what happens? Like, we get to Echo with a Claw in play and still mana floating, so that's pretty good. I get rid of this Brainstorm that we don't really want to redraw. Just for the blue... yeah, this is for the blue mana, so we don't have to fetch. There's definitely the option of casting that Brainstorm, but I think just echoing with more mana floating is better. So we echo again, and our hand doesn't do anything besides cast Tendrils. Like, we don't have the colors needed to decay this and then cast Ad Nauseam to continue to try to play around Flusterstorm that they may or may not even have at this point. It's completely random. So the answer here is just put Tendrils on the stack, because letting them untap with a Claw is not worth it. Sideboarding for this was pretty easy. It's minus Veils plus removal spells. So, yeah, there we go. So that's round 1 done. I was terrified of this. I thought this was going to be a quick 0-2 drop, and then we squeaked this one out. This was interesting. I don't know how I feel about our opponent's deck. It felt like it didn't function, or they didn't quite understand what was going on the entire time. So let's get into round 2. Our opponent has a big history of playing Burn in all formats here, so that's kind of what I assumed that they were on at first. And we won a die roll, which is pretty good. That first hand was just too slow if we were playing against Burn. I'll bring it back up, actually. Never know what your clicks are going to do. So this hand doesn't cast any of our spells. It would need to draw a black source and then continue to do more things. So in my head at this point, I'm playing against Burn, and this hand is not good enough against Burn. If this Taiga is a blue source, then maybe there starts to become an argument, but it doesn't do anything. It needs to draw too many things to do it. So it's pretty free to ship this, like, middling to bad 7. This is a turn 2 Ad Nauseam if you draw any mana. Otherwise, it's a turn 3 Ad Nauseam if you just draw a land, which is a very good success case as Burning Wish for Grape Shot to deal with Eidolon. So this hand's great. So we're going to put away a Burning Wish. And we're just going to start on Verdant Catacombs Pass. Don't need to play out the petals quite yet. And yeah. Except they play an Underground Sea and a Careful Study. So that means Hogaak. Which, that's one of our better matchups. They discard a Bloodcast and an Altar. And we rip Dark Ritual, which is insane. So we get to Dark Ritual, Petal, and then play Ad Nauseam. I decided to fetch there because I think it's better to have Petal in play rather than the fetch sitting in play. So we open up Dark Ritual, Ponder, Talisman, Rite of Flame, flip the Echo, because of course. I am very bad at casting the card Ad Nauseam. I don't know why I've decided to devote a lot of time learning a deck that is all about the card Ad Nauseam, but I am terrible at casting this card. Flip a Grid, flip an Opal. So we're still safe at this point because the only thing that's expensive in the deck is the Tendrils that can kill us at 4. So now we're at 4. This Opal isn't on, and there's no way to get Metalcraft. So all we have is this Dark Ritual mana or Rite of Flame mana, and that doesn't go anywhere. And we go to 2 when we hit this Burning Wish. So right now the options are Dark Ritual, Wishclaw Talisman, find Lion's Eye Diamond, cast Echo, or flip again. I decide to take the Echo line here, which is really sad that that's where we ended up. And we kind of open up this banger of a 7. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, which this is a lot of pretty neat cantrips and stuff like that. And there's an option of casting Brainstorm or Ponder. I think it's a little better to cast Ponder here, though I don't actually remember what I cast in hindsight. No. It's still better to cast Brainstorm because if you draw Burning Wish, you can't win with Burning Wish. and you're still mana short, so Brainstorm gives you the most outs. So we cast Brainstorm. We find the Tendrils, which is really sad. Of course, we're mana short of that. And you can't, like, crack this Petal to find anything. There may have been an argument for going in on this LED, but it's fine. Like, I don't think that cracking this for blue or red is worth it when we have a bunch of cantrips in our hand, and that's way too committal. And I think that the odds that they kill us from this spot are, like, vaguely low. But, yeah. So we have to put back some cards. And we pass the turn. We have Veil up if they cast a discard spell. They play a Putrid Imp. They discard a Bloodghast, which means the game is over if they have a land, and they do. Because the Bloodghast comes back with haste and hits us for 2 and we're dead. That's really unfortunate. That's just the cost of playing the deck. Fortunately, it's Hogaak, so this matchup's like pretty easy. Pretty favorable. So sideboard-wise, I took out the defense grids and put in 2 relays. Defense grid's not very good in the matchup, and relay has text at least. So we're on the play, and we open up this 7. So this is kind of an interesting 7. So we have Brainstorm to protect our Ad Nauseam from discard, and we're just looking for another black source. So we can go right Ad Nauseam. So this is like turn 2, turn 3, depending on what black source we find. So this hand's pretty good. We also have this backup Burning Wish. Opponent mulligans to 6. Fix that real quick. So we just lead on Mire. There's no reason to lead on the Swamp. We want to hold out the Brainstorm regardless. I think Brainstorming on turn 1 is also kind of silly. There's no need to do that either. Our opponent leads off on Stitcher Supplier. And they find a Therapy. And they flashback Therapy. And I think it makes sense just to cast Brainstorm here. Though, like, I think that the card that they name by default here is Dark Ritual anyway, because you don't name Artifact Mana, because I would have played that out. And Dark Ritual is better than Rite of Flame. And fetching Volcanic here might have given away the idea that I have Rite of Flames in my hand, which I was kind of worried about during the event. And we just kind of find the nuts here. We don't find turn 2 Ad Nauseam, and their graveyard's kind of stacked. But this lets us do Echo-shaped things. So I think it makes sense to hide Ad Nauseam and LED the most, because those are their 2 most important cards. And if they name Burning Wish, that's fine. They're not going to name this card. And this is the risk, is that they're going to name the 2 of in our hand. But LED is definitely the best card in that hand. They do name Dark Ritual after quite a long think. And they whiff. So there's an option here to Rite of Flame, play LED, cast Galvanic Relay. But I don't think that letting them untap is good, and resetting their graveyard is kind of neat, especially because these Rite of Flames are definitely going away. So we have to do something here, because they can flashback the Therapy next turn most likely. So we're going to Burning Wish. We're going to find Echo. It might have been better here to relay. Like, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I don't know why I didn't. Just relay and put the Ad Nauseam into exile and then cast it next turn with Lion's Eye Diamond. I don't know why I didn't consider that. That might be a misplay. It's basically like the odds of them doing something nasty next turn, which I think are kind of low given their graveyard, but it's hard. It's really hard to tell. Either way, we Echo into the nuts and just kind of win the game on the spot. So, gotta rotate play the Claw out, make the black mana, Tendrils for 10. So, I think that was interesting. It's possible that, like, I should have just saved up for the Ad Nauseam, because, like, this wasn't guaranteed to work out this way. I also think that resetting their graveyard and getting rid of the Therapy is valid as well. But, it worked out. On to game 3. So, let's see. So this is a hand full of uncastables. If this hand draws an artifact, it's great, but, like, that's a big if. And I think that if this is a blue source, we probably keep this hand to cast Ponder. But otherwise, I think it's pretty free to take our mulligan. So our opponent also mulligans, and we end up on this unkeepable 6. No initial mana sources. There's no reason to keep this hand. Don't keep these hands. It looks broken because of all these cards, but don't keep these hands. Opponent keeps 6, and now we're on 5. This is a very functional 5. I hate that we're on 5, but it's functional. So we have the option of Chromux, Imprint, Ponder, put away these cards, and just cast Ponder on our first turn looking for a fast Echo, which I think is good enough in this matchup. The card to not think about here is Force of Vigor, because that card's just going to end your day, and there's nothing you can do about it with this hand. And they play Cabal Therapy, which is utterly brutal about hitting our Lion's Eye Diamond, which makes this a very weak 4-card hand. We draw the Burning Wish, so that's neat, but we don't have any red mana yet. And I think that casting these Ponders is better, and using them because they're probably just going to die to the therapy. Lotus Petal to turn on Opal is great, and we have this Brainstorm and Rite of Flame to think about doing things later. So we draw the Lotus Petal, and we just play it all out so that our opponent has no known cards. Like this Burning Wish is unknown, it just came off the top. They'd have to like straight up guess it. They have a Careful Study, and they discard a Bloodghast and a Bridge from, and they miss their land. That's kind of insane. I guess they just kept a 1-lander. So we draw a Brainstorm, and we're just going to cast it. We find Volcanic, we find our Rite of Flame. Okay, there's stuff going on here. We put the Brainstorm on top of our deck because we just want to continue cantripping, and to continue to play around the Cabal Therapy, because like it's pretty obvious that if they draw the land, they can Cabal Therapy us again, and there's just no reason to like risk this getting stolen. We just go get Echo. Getting Pier is way worse when Cabal Therapy is involved because you just know what's happening. And they miss their land again. They pass without playing a spell, which they clearly don't have Force of Vigor, so I think we're just dead to Force of Vigor. I don't even know what's in their hand right now. Brainstorm on the stack. We find Dark Ritual and Rite of Flame. We're going to put back both Rituals and continue to develop so that we can hardcast Echo next turn. They find another Careful Study, and they still miss on lands. They discard a pair of Vengevines. So now we can Dark Ritual and cast Echo with a Lotus Petal in play. I clicked through playing that Bloodstained Mire. Okay. So this hand just has 3 mana in it, which isn't a ton. So with the option to cantrip, or we just have the option to Echo again, I think casting Brainstorm here makes a lot of sense. Notably, this cannot fetch blue mana because both of our red and blue duels, or red and black duels that produce blue are already in play. So we'd have to crack a Petal to cast one of these cantrips. Sorry. Which is what I do when we just hit kind of the nuts. So we can put back pretty much any 2 cards here that aren't Wishclaw, these LEDs, and the mana. Oh, this is actually an Ad Nauseam that we can do off the top. That's what we're doing. And I was actually a little bit spooked to do this considering how it had gone in game 1. And I thought about shuffling that just to like have better odds, but it's fine, right? Ad Nauseam's never let me down. So we know that there's a Burning Wish and a Veil of Summer on top of our deck. Okay, we're going. We're going. On a Rite of Flame. Flip the main deck Echo, because I'm good at casting Ad Nauseam. We're down to 3. Like, what the heck? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. What the heck? Deck, come on. So I think there's a good argument for stopping here. 1, Galvanic Relay can kill us. The Tendrils can kill us. And if we flip a 2, then we lose access to this mana. So stopping here makes sense. And we're praying with this Brainstorm. And we hit gas. LED, Chrome Mox. And that just seals the game right there. We have enough to Rite of Flame, Wish. Casting the Brainstorm there is especially free because we have the Echo to flashback here if we want it. So, and here we have Tendrils. Our opponent concedes the game. 2-0. So yeah, 2-0. And we're now on to round 3. So I'm going to turn the page of my notes here. That's what that paper sound is. I actually reviewed all my games before doing this, which I don't normally do. So this starts our reign of blue decks. We're in the blue bracket now. So we lose a die roll. And this hand is just very good against almost everything. The double brainstorm is kind of neat. We have blue source, we have a bunch of mana, we have protection. The hand's great. Let's go. Let's play Magic. Opponent has the Delver, which, honestly, I'll take a turn 1 Delver. That's not the scariest thing for the opponent to be doing on turn 1. We draw a second land, which is great, so we can just play this Verdant and pass the turn without having to worry about Wasteland, anything like that. Opponent's Delver flips to a Daze. So that's important to know. The opponent has a Daze. Get it for 3. Come on. All right, there we go. So, brainstorm on the stack. Opponent decides not to Daze to make us forced to crack the fetch. This is a little bit disappointing. We're looking for an action spell, and we just found more mana and protection. We found a Ponder, which is kind of neat. So the cards we need the least here are the second Veil and this Brainstorm. Defense Grid is good because we can play it out and just go turn over turn, but we don't really want to cast another Brainstorm. We don't need a third piece of protection, and it's just better to stay a little bit more diverse in this spot. So I think putting back Brainstorm and Veil of Summer make the most sense. So we're going to play out a Petal. We're going to fetch up our Tropical Island and cast the Ponder. Playing out the Petal is pretty free. There's no need to let our opponent Daze our stuff for free. And notably, they missed a land drop, so they have 6 spells in hand. So we find our Talisman, and we find a land, which is kind of exactly what we were looking for. So next turn is going to be go turn. Like, casting Dark Ritual here is just insanity, because that's going to get Dazed like 95% of the time. Our opponent casts a cantrip. They choose to shuffle, and they find their land. So they're still at 6 cards. We've got a bunch of protection spells, though. So we draw our land for turn. We start on Dark Ritual. Just develop all of our mana. So now we can play Defense Grid and see what the opponent does. Our opponent has forced pitching the Daze that they showed us. So we're going to fetch here, because we don't really want to draw the other Veil of Summer. We don't have the mana for it, so if we draw something else, that's neat. Opponent fetches, and they cast Daze. I don't know exactly why they fetch, but we're going to pay for Daze. And we have to draw Burning Wish. So now the protection is able to work clean. What can we do from here? Storm is 6. We have 4, 5, 6. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Storm is 6. LED is 8. Wish is 9. LED is 7. Wish is 8. Tendrils is 9. That's lethal. They're at 17. Why cast Ad Nauseam? We could just cast Tendrils. Notably, we didn't even need to draw the Wish to do this. The Wish Clause could have searched up the main deck Tendrils, and we would have done the same thing. So we got game 1. So sideboarding is the same blue plan that we've done or we will do for every blue deck we face. -4 Ponder, minus Tendrils Vanity, minus Ad Nauseam, +3 Relay, +2 Abrupt Decay, plus AV Progenitor Ooze. So we're on the draw, which is the tough game against Delver. And we kind of have this banger of a Relay hand. We have Metalcraft enabled. It's good. Opponent has turn 1 Monkey. That's a little bit terrifying. So we draw a land, and I think I make a mistake here. I kind of kept this hand with the idea of going turn 1 Relay for 4, but I think going turn 2 Relay for 5 is even better, because we get to cast the Brainstorm, and we know that we get to cast the Brainstorm next turn. We just get to develop more. So I think that I just got really aggressive with this Relay for almost no reason. And it goes pretty poorly. So I played all the mana. We have to sack the Petal, which turns off Metalcraft, and then we cast the Relay for 4, and then they Daze a copy. So let's pop out our Exile Zone. We hit Rite of Flame, Dark Ritual, Taiga. Everything's super dead off of that. That's just basically 3 cards that we don't want to play, because we want to use the fetch land in our hand to go with these Brainstorms. So we don't really want to play the Taiga that we found. Opponent attacks with the monkey, they hit our defense grid, and they wasteland us. So we're just super sent to the Stone Age here. Draw Underground Sea, and I think it's best just to cast Brainstorm here, looking for artifacts for anything. And our opponent has Pyroblast, so just like negated our whole first couple of turns of play. I think that like if I am a little bit more conservative and I hold back, then it gets better. So that's just some misplays on my part. They continue to hit us with the monkey. They have another Wasteland. They hit our Underground Sea. They hit a Wishclaw, and they decide to play a Ponder. Turns out no player is going to ever have permanence in this matchup. So play out this Bloodstained Mire, which notably can't cast this Brainstorm because it can't find blue mana, because our Underground Sea and our Volcanic Island have both been wastelanded. So they replay their Volcanic Island, which has been in their hand for a couple of turns after they dazed. They have 4 cards. This game is tough. We're not out of it yet. They hit an Opal. That's fine. They play Channeler, which isn't Delirious, but that's going to let them start scrying and controlling their draws. We draw another Bloodstained Mire, which is super unfortunate, because I think we're almost out of all the targets for these at this point. Yeah, it's just... yeah, because the Taiga is in exile, so it's just the Badlands in the deck. We're hoping to draw an artifact to be able to Brainstorm or just draw the Tropical Island naturally. So they cast a Brainstorm on our end step by sacrificing their treasure token. Which apparently means that they have no interest in getting Metalcraft. They hit a Rite of Flame, which I think they almost think about casting, but doesn't really make sense. So we draw Lotus Petal, which is one of our better draws. So that lets us Brainstorm, which resolves, but doesn't really hit anything. So we have to put the Swamp back in the deck. And I think that Ritual is better than Petal, and we obviously want Veil. So it's pretty easy to put back Swamp and Lotus Petal here. This game is kind of wildly out of control, and we're just going to continue dying to their combat steps here. They hit another Lotus Petal, which lets them double Surveil. They put a bunch of cards in their graveyard. They have Metalcraft. They have so many cards and so much mana. We're dead when they untap here, so we're going to double fetch. And we draw Relay, which doesn't do anything. And I don't think that there's a shenanigan where we can try to get them to force something and draw a card off Veil of Summer. So maybe it's a tad early of a concession, but like, it's fine. This game was very over, and was over for most of it. All right, game 3. So game 3, we're on the play. And we have another nutty Relay hand, which relies on drawing a black source, but that's fine. We're going to keep this and, like, pray. So we have our Taiga. Opponent also keeps 7. They have the monkey. And we hit the black source, which is great. So we start on Rite of Flame, because if our opponent dazes, we want to be able to Dark Ritual in response. That's just good TES mechanics. Fetch up the Underground Sea, because Wasteland kind of ends our day anyway, and there's no reason not to. So we Rit, and put LED into play, and then cast Burning Wish. At this point, our opponent might think that we're echoing, but we're not. There's definitely... They thought about this Burning Wish for a while. I think we could have emptied for 12 here, and that would have been a reasonable line. If there was a world where we could have emptied and relayed, that would have also been really cool. But it's pretty safe here to get Echo. And because it felt like they had a force, there's no reason to cast the Echo. We can just relay and have kind of the 2 mana floating here. So we have Polluted Delta as the first card, because Burning Wish exiled itself, not from the relay. It is a little bit hard sometimes to tell them apart. So really we're just hoping that Relay flips a protection spell to go with this Echo. And we find the Veil of Summer. So that's the rest of our turn. And opponent has a combat step. They play not Wasteland, which we're thrilled to see. And they hit a Brainstorm, of course. So they cast our Brainstorm. And they have a Braid, our LED. So I'm going to crack LED and put Echo in the graveyard, which does open us up to Surgical, but I think it's better there than anywhere else, which is really unfortunate. So that means this turn can be a little bit slower. So we play Polluted Delta, tap our lands, put Defense Grid on the stack, and they can't daze it. Well, they can daze it, but we can just Veil here, because if we don't cast this Veil, it's never going to get cast. So it's a free card to like pay the 1 mana for daze anyway. And they have a second daze. That's fine. Annoying, but fine. So we're going to pass. They attack in with the monkey again. And so they double daze us, which might have been what they were thinking about on turn 1, whether or not it was worth it to daze Burning Wish. Then now they have a Channeler. And they have a Ponder. So we draw Burning Wish off the top. I don't think this Wish does anything. I think it's unlikely that they have the third daze. So just putting Echo on the stack, I think, is the best way forward. Because if this resolves, like, that's very good for us. It helps reset Delirium. And if it doesn't, we have this Burning Wish to start doing other things with. So Echo resolves, we play our land, we pass the turn. We could have cast one of these Brainstorms, but that's probably not worth it because we want the shuffle effect for next turn. Opponent has their combat step, hits us for 3. Make a treasure. Dark Ritual. That's fine. They can hit that. I would have liked to draw that, but that's not a card that they can really use. They have Expressive Iteration, which nets them a Lightning Bolt that just goes to exile. So we draw for turn, we find a Rite of Flame. So this means we have a bunch of mana, but brainstorming here is pretty free. Whew, let's go. Ding. We hit so many good cards here. We don't need a Brainstorm, and we can probably put back... I think I put back the extra... It's either the Opal or one of these Veils. I don't remember what I put back. Yeah, I put back the extra Opal. Okay. Play out our artifacts. Fetch up Badlands. Badlands lets us cast these Rite of Flames without anything else happening. They decide to Surgical our Rite of Flames, which is fine. This means that a preemptive Veil will still draw a card here, which is like great with me. It also turns off the hardcast Echo line, which is something I was thinking about. I guess it doesn't completely, but it makes it harder. Especially because we have to... Yeah, so this is the point, that Echo is turned off. Kind of insane that they had double force here, but... And if their last two cards were another forced blue card, I was just going to deal with it. So put the Echo back on the stack. Okay. So we have a land drop. So what does this hand do? So we have 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana, 6 mana, 7 mana, 8 mana. So this lets us play Witchclaw Talisman, Burning Wish, Storm Spell. We're definitely choked a little bit on black mana. So starting on Brainstorm, I think, is pretty free. And it just hits the nuts. Brainstorm has been very good to us this tournament. Thank you, Brainstorm. No thanks ad nauseum. So, we put back the cards that we can't play. And we're trying to play around a couple of Force of Wills here. That's the goal. So we play Rite of Flame, develop our mana. Now we play Defense Grid. If we play Defense Grid, then everything's easy. Defense Grid is met with Force of Will. So now we develop our mana. Mana resolves, okay. So now we're going to play Wishclaw Talisman. We still have the ability to cast Burning Wish into Tendrils. They have another Force of Will. And the Storm is so high at this point that we only have to crack one LED in case they had the third Force of Will off of this Echo, and we could just Grape Shot them. Also, if you notice the time difference here, our opponent was thinking a lot about these plays. So I was super nervous here. They daze us. That's fine. I will get Grape Shot, and that's the game. So, what a game. A lot of these games are going to be really long. Lots of convoluted turns, lots of spells. Like that was a 22 spell turn, and I think we saw like so many cards off of Echoes. Really cool. So that's round 3. That makes us a whole 3-0. Update our record here. All right. On to round 4. All right, so I played this person earlier in the week, and they were on Blue Red Delver, so that's kind of what I was expecting. So this first hand is so close. It's got so many good cards, it just doesn't do anything. Don't keep hands that don't do anything. So this is a ship. We find this hand. This hand got a lot of chunky spells. It's pretty free to put back an extra wish here. And because I was on the play, I was like, okay, we're going to ponder into as many lands as I want. I'd even keep 3 lands here, is what I was thinking to myself as this game was happening. And lo and behold, we hit all 3 lands. I'm just like, all right, this is great. We're just going to jam on our opponent over and over again. Mana's the easiest thing to find in this deck. So we do that. Opponent plays Island, Ponder. Sure. I'll take Delver not having a 1-drop. That's A-okay with me. Play Defense Grid. Defense Grid's met with Force of Will, which means that they don't have days, so I'm ecstatic about that. That means that the Defense Grid next turn is going to either him to Torque them or Resolve. They play a Ponder. They play Misty. They fetch up a Trop. Okay, so this isn't Delver, this is just Bant, which that's much easier to beat than Delver. They find a Flooded Strand. So it makes sense here to... So there's a choice between what card you play here, and I chose to play Wishclaw because this card is the least important card in our hand. And if it's met with like a prismatic ending or whatever, that's fine. The Defense Grid and the Wish, like we have backup action. That's fine. If this gets endinged or Teferied or whatever. So they play Teferi, they bounce our Wishclaw, that's fine. Turn 4. Draw another land, which, that's a lot of lands. That's 4 lands on top of our deck. I think we've yet to draw a spell, but we kind of chose that. And now we get to play both of our permanents, which is kind of neat. No Fear of Days, everything resolves. We're good to go. If we untap and draw a land, alright. They play an Abundant Harvest. They find Karakas. They play their Karakas and they pass the turn. They're living up to 3 mana. So we draw Lotus Petal. So we could technically Ad Nauseam here, but that's probably not worth it. We can just cast this Burning Wish and see what happens. Wish resolves. So there's an option to get Relay here, but we don't really have enough cards to utilize Relay. So it's Peer versus Echo, and I think Echo is better for like brute forcing our way through counter magic. Opponent's turn. Uptick the Teferi. They play Brainstorm. Play a land. Fetch and pass. We draw a land. We have all 6 fetchables available to us. We're on turn 6. Whew, what a game. So we played our Lotus Petal. We're just going to like tap 6 lands and put Echo Vions on the stack. As Magic was intended. Who needs rituals? So Echo's on the stack, and opponent has the Force And unfortunately, it's the force of negation kind of force. So that puts Echo into exile, which means we don't get to flash it back, which is very unfortunate. So I think our opponent feels very ahead here, so they play an Uro. I'm not quite sure why they decided to tick up here with Teferi instead of just bouncing the Claw or the defense grid and killing the Teferi. I guess they wanted to keep the Teferi around. That's the reasoning. But I don't know if I agree with that. So we draw Veil. Veil's nuts here. Veil lets us cast Ad Nauseam from 16. And we kind of don't have a land drop. Veil just snap resolves, which is great. We don't have a land drop here because we don't have any more mana producing lands in our deck. It's turn 7. We're grinding this game. And I think that this was like our last window to do this as well, because our opponent starts to flashback Uro and start to take over the game that way. So we flip a pair of Rite of Flames. There's the Chrome Mox. There's a Ponder. Here's a Chrome Mox. All right, we got a pair of Chrome Moxes. There's a Burning Wish. Okay. There's a Dark Ritual. So when I flipped the Burning Wish, I was thinking about Tendrils from the sideboard, but this actually works better if you... or do I have to flip more cards? I'm going to have to flip more cards. So right now we're dead to the main deck Tendrils and the main deck Echo. This doesn't quite work. So we flip another card. We flip another Dark Ritual. And this is what does it. So I tanked here for a while to figure out how to do this. And the answer is that you put the Wish and the second Ritual under these Chrome Moxes and then use the main deck Tendrils. So that's where we stop. We stop at 3. Ad Nauseam, by the skin of our teeth. On turn 7. And we're just going to cast all of our spells and easy search up everything. I think Storm Count was an issue, so I had to rotate a Claw. But yeah. Tendrils on the stack. And that's game 1 of round 4. Whew. Game 2. Again, sideboarding. You're going to see these Ponders in the sideboard very often. You're going to see Ad Nauseam in the sideboard. You're going to see 2 Tendrils in the sideboard. It's the same for every blue deck. On the draw, we open up a Relay hand. All right. This hand does some stuff. We're not going to repeat the mistake we made earlier of just jamming Relay on turn 1. I don't think that does that much here, especially when we draw Veil and we can just pass the turn, develop a little bit more. So they cast Ponder. We draw Brainstorm. So we're just going to cast some cantrips here. Again, this matchup is not about speed. It's about resolving the spells when you can. We draw another land. And now here's where resolving the Relay is great. So we don't need this Echo anymore. We have Relay. So we can ditch... I think we're going to ditch... We're definitely ditching the Echo. And I think it's Echo Defense Grid is what we're going to get rid of here. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. Yeah. So we want to have the Abrupt Decay. We're going to ditch Decay Echo and Imprint Veil. That's what we're going to do. Okay, that makes sense. I don't remember every brainstorm I've ever made. Yeah, okay. So the goal is to have Abrupt Decay and Veil somewhere in our hands afterwards so we can continue to do things, especially if they play a Hatebear or something like that. We just have an easy answer. And doing it this way means that we don't have to sacrifice the pedal. Like, there's definitely an argument to cast Veil to try to get a Forcible out of them here to get an extra card or 2. But I think just relaying for 5 is fine. So we hit Talisman. And we hit Aeve. Ooze. So the great thing about Ooze is that they don't have any answers to it, and we already have 4 green sources in play. That's so many green sources. Our opponent can't cut us off triple green, that easily. Though they're going to try. Here's Teferi. Bounce the Chrome Mox. Oh no. That's not good. So we draw Dark Ritual, which isn't bad. Now there's some sequencing things here. So this Aeve is face up on the table. We know that we have 3 green sources between Mire, Trop, and Petal, and this other Petal. So like if we lead on this Petal, they might force it, and we get to Veil, and that interaction might go well for us. So we lead on it, they think it resolves. Okay, smooth sailing. Play Chrome Mox, replay the Chrome Mox, pitch this Abrupt Decay, play Veil of Summer. And so now here, they force it for some reason, I'm not sure why. So the line here to be careful about is to make sure that you always have 5 mana, so they can't force a ritual to pinch you on Aeve. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, so this Dark Ritual is available to be cast. So Dark Ritual resolves. Now we play Witchclaw Talisman, which resolves. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana again. So now we can cast Rite of Flame, and we can cast Aeve for 8. I guess if this had been the Tendrils, we also just win the game on the spot. That's fine. Our opponent got oozed. So I don't think that there are a ton of answers to this in a lot of Bant decks. You have to like Terminus. They go straight through their draw step, and they concede. Too much power. Makes us 4-0. Round 5. This event was 9 rounds, by the way. And then we got top 8 to play, too. 250 people. It's a lot of people. So this is going to be a long one. So I looked up our opponent. They had the Jeskai Standstill listed. Here's our first hand. This is not keepable in any matchup. This goes back in the deck. This hand's okay. We can dish this Mox Opal pretty easily. It's not on, it doesn't do anything. It's just an extra Ponder. Yeah, that makes sense. We just want to be a little bit more aggressive and establish artifact mana. So fetching early here I thought was important to play around Stifle. Just cast Ponder. Find Wish Wish Trop, which is not what we're looking for. Shuffle, draw a Wish anyway. So they just play Misty Pass. Draw another Brainstorm. We can cast our Brainstorm here. I didn't think it was safe to fetch. This is awkward. We can put back Wish Opal here pretty easily, because those cards are redundant. And we just pass. I didn't want to fetch here because I was playing around Stifle, because that's a card that's commonly played in these Jeskai Standstill lists. So they fetch here. They find Volcanic. They play the Standstill. This means that we get to fetch. And I just cast my Brainstorm here because I wasn't going to cast it next turn. And okay, we got some turns of doing nothing here. Again, Standstill gives us time to draw through our Brainstorm. They don't do anything. We don't do anything. It's all good. We could even think about discarding this Echo to hand size. They play a land. And I decided to break the Standstill on their end step here so that they would have to discard. That's the point of doing this here. Because I thought we could do something interesting with Burning Wish and Echo and potentially a Relay next turn. So our Brainstorm resolves. We find a mixture of lands and artifacts. So we're going to hard cast this Echo. That's our plan. Opponent has to discard 2 cards. They discard an Ending and a Swords. We draw for turn. Fetch up. Move away our bad cards. We cast Veil. Gets forced. That's fine. Also signals that they don't have forced negation, because I think they would have tapped 3 lands to play it rather than pitching a card. So that means that there's potential for this Echo to be safe. So they have an end-step Brainstorm, which who knows what they could have now. So they Mystic Sanctuary back Force of Will, which is kind of a sign of weakness in my opinion. A lot of times these players will Mystic Sanctuary back cantrips, which is weird. It also starts to like seem like this isn't the aggressive Ragavan version, because the Ragavan versions don't play this card. So maybe Stifle's not actually on the menu. So they play a Jace, they draw their Force of Will. So we know that they have a force, at least one force in hand now. So we draw LED, which is great. Again, we have the option to do lots of things. We draw more mana with this Brainstorm. We're going to double Echo here. That's the play. It seems unlikely that they have Force of Negation. We have a bunch of Opals. We're just going to play out all the mana. So they Force with Float of Blue with Opal. Got to get those mechanics down pat. We're going to Echo with Blue-Black Petal available to us. Survey says, ding, kind of. This hand is not bad. It doesn't really win the game this turn, but it's not bad. We have a Veil, we have 2 action spells, we have some more mana. Let's go. So we find another Mox Opal. Kind of a shuffle. So we can play land, fetch. I'm not quite sure exactly why I played the fetch land. I think it would have been a little better to play Swamp. We play out the Wishclaw Talisman, just to have more insulation, and like we get to add Naws from 16 next turn if we get to untap with the Claw, which is kind of great. So they have 7 cards. It's possible that like playing out the Claw is a little bit of a mistake because they get so many looks at a Prismatic ending. Which they do have, which is kind of unfortunate. So they cantrip away the rest of their turn, which is fine. So we draw a land. Okay, so we're going to play Petal. We're going to cast Burning Wish. We're going to see what happens. So if Burning Wish resolves, we could find the sideboard Echo, we could find Pier. We're super close to Pier because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or we have all 9 mana in play. Or we could have all 9 mana in play next turn, which is kind of neat. Burning Wish. Opponent has an actual factual counterspell. This is really what told me that they weren't on the Stifle list. So we have a Veil. They have a Force. We got another Veil. Draw LED. Okay. Draw an Opal. Storm is 6, 7, 8, 9. Huh, look at that. They're dead. They interacted and killed themselves. Alright. Game 1. And next up is, I think, my favorite game in the tournament. This game is really deep and really interesting. So we're on the draw. This hand is not good. I don't know why I kept this hand. I saw Aeve and I was like, ooh, Aeve, let's keep. I don't think that this card is actually ever good to draw. And I should have learned that lesson here, but I didn't. This hand is basically just these 6 cards, and this card almost never matters. Like, we have 3 lands. It's so hard to produce GGG too. It almost requires the full 5 initial mana sources regardless. So this hand is, I think, a trap, and I fell into it. So our opponent has turn 1 Soul Guide Lantern. Draw a Veil Summer, which is really what we're not looking for. This is going to be setting up for another slow game. Opponent. Turn 2 Standstill. Okay. Alright, I'm not going to cast spells anyway. This hand just wants to sit back and relax. We draw another Veil, which is just not it. Like, this hand wants to draw lands, and it wants to draw chromes and opals and stuff like that. We're still so many turns away from casting this Aeve. Draw Taiga. Great. That's a green source. So now we have 2 green sources. So it means on turn 4 we have the chance at casting an Aeve, if we're lucky. Our opponent here has been sitting here doing nothing, which I'm okay with. I'm okay if I'm playing lands under Standstill and they're not. Just developing mana advantage. Dark Ritual is not really what we're looking for. And I'm still in my head stuck on this Aeve plan, which I think is just nonsense at this point. We're so close, we only need one more green. Granted, it's really easy to discard the third Veil of Summer here to hand size. I don't think that cracking the Standstill makes any sort of sense. Opponent also has to discard to hand size. They discard a Pyroblast, which they don't have the mana for anyway. We draw a Wishclaw Talisman. Okay. So Wishclaw is a third green if we want to filter, but I think I was a little bit scared of doing things into their Standstill, which maybe in hindsight I shouldn't have been. But, So they finally hit land 3. We draw another Claw, and I think I decided it's just best to play out both Claws here. I do play out both, right? Come on, pass me. Yeah, I don't know why I played out only one Claw. That's insane. So they have Surgical here, which is really annoying. We get to cast Veil in response to cycle and draw our cards, so we don't get completely blown out by it. And they get to see the Aeve, which is going to be key later. They also have the neat Hall of Heliod's plus Standstill interaction, or Urza's Saga, which I really like. That's really cool. They have Ending for a Claw, which is kind of annoying. And then they play Canonist, which is lame, especially when we have Aeve in our hand, so we can't, like, Trickster, play Artifacts, play Claw, get Aeve, and win the game. So we draw Brainstorm. And we play Petal. Because this is actually our third green source, too, that they know about it, so they have to force a Lotus Petal, which is great. So we get to play Brainstorm. And I still don't put back this Aeve for some reason. Put back this Aeve. God. So I'm thinking about getting on a relay plan here. And because so many of our spells are artifacts, we get the option to play Claw. I think I decline because I have the relay in hand. Or yeah, it makes sense to play it out. I'm not really thinking about relay at this point. I'm still stuck on this card for some reason. I don't know why. So they have Jace. That's their one spell for this turn. They play land. So we can fetch away Dark Rituals here. So the point of this Claw is also just to find Abrupt Decay. And the Dark Rituals aren't very good here, so... We draw Chrome Mox, which is kind of neat. So we're going to play LED. We're going to play Opal. Huh, that's met with Force of Will. It's so insane. Like, if I had just kept a Dark Ritual and not this Aeve, and I would be able to, like, tutor up Defense Grid, or tutor up Aeve here, to be honest. Like, this Aeve should be in my deck. I don't know why I have it in play. So they force that. Pitch the Chrome Mox, or pitch the Wish, and now we get to draw 5 cards off this relay. Which, that's insane in and of itself. We hit a Defense Grid, we hit another Burning Wish. This Aeve is still stuck in our hand. Also, it's turn 10. Why am I playing turn 10 with Storm? So they, again, Mystic Sanctuary for Forcible, which they have access to through Soul Guide Lantern, or sideboard's blocking this Jace over here, which they've already used. So now they have Meddling Mage, and they think for a while here. And then they name Aeve. So now I am legally not allowed to cast this card. They get in for 2, and that's their turn. Alright, so now we have our 5 relay cards, and we draw another Defense Grid. So it's pretty free to start with a Defense Grid from Exile, which they let resolve, which makes sense given that they have 4 mana, so they can crack the Soul Guide and draw Force of Will if they want it. And the key here is figuring out colors and sequencing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our lands, so Meyer can get the last one, which is the Badlands. Play. Cast another defense grid. Still haven't cast any non-artifact spells yet. So now we're going to know if we're good. And they cast Brainstorm here for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know why they didn't just cast Brainstorm in response to the first grid. But, yeah. So now we have 2 grids. We have a buttload of mana. We have to figure out how best to sequence this. So remember that we can cast this Burning Wish using LED mana. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. And the goal here is to be able to do so many things. So let's think about our color requirements. Tendrils is double black, Abrupt Decay is green-black, Brainstorm is blue, and Burning Wish is 1R. So that means cracking one of these LEDs for black. And like I tapped my lens here a couple of times to try to figure it out. I think this is like a great situation. If you can figure out how to get from this board state to casting all of our spells, because Storm is 3, Abrupt Decay is 4, LED is 5, Brainstorm is 6, Wish is 7, Tendrils is 8. So that means that if this Brainstorm hits any mana, we win the game. And if not, we just get to relay for 1,000,000, which is fine. So if you can figure it, so pause the video, in the comments, write the line about how we tap things, what colors we produce to do all of the things. It took me a couple of minutes to do in-game, but yeah. Give you a second. Okay, let's go. So first, we find the Badlands. We put the LED into play because that's easy. We're going to tap lands for a second, untap the lands. We're going to make blue, green, red here. So this blue mana here, or this red mana is easy to get rid of. And we're also just going to crack one LED here for black. I think I could have cracked both of them here too. It doesn't matter. Opponent can't do anything, but I was too in the zone of like worrying about what if they did things or what if things went wrong. So we can activate the Wishclaw Talisman. We tutor up our Abrupt Decay. And now we can crack for red. And so now we have 6 mana floating, which is enough to Wish Tendrils, but that's not lethal. And given that they have a Claw, Empty the Warrens is off too. So this means that we're in Relay Land, or we're in Brainstorm to find something that wins the game. This is our turn 10, by the way. We find double Rite of Flame. Ding. So this is easy. Put back one of the... Keep the Rite of Flame, Burning Wish, Tendrils. What a turn. And if you think back to the start of this turn, they started this turn with a Canonist in play, and we cast 2 defense grids and like a couple of Lion's Eye Diamonds and then an Abrupt Decay. Like, we cast so many spells before we answered the Canonist. It's just, yeah, this was just an insane game and an insane turn. I felt on top of the world after this one. And it also brought us to a neat little 5-0. Turn 10. We're not even halfway through the tournament. All right, round 6. Round 6 is against Theo Young, who ended up winning the whole tournament. We're on the draw here. Theo is a noted Delver player, so that's kind of what I was expecting. This has Veil Summer, it's got Ad Nauseam. Let's go. Tundra. So this immediately put the actual Stifle version of the Standstill deck in my head. That means that we're not really allowed to cast our Pondar on turn 1, so we're just going to play Land Go. They fetch up red mana here, and they put the Monkey into play. They notably decide to not dash it, and they're representing Stifle hard here. Because I think there's a lot of players who would just dash it if they didn't have the Stifle. It's like, what am I going to do? Swords it? It doesn't matter. So we're just going to play Land and Pass. We actually have all 5 mana to cast Ad Nauseam here, but we don't have Veil of Summer Protection, and that's pretty important. And also this fetch land probably gets stifled at some point. So they attack with the Monkey. Brainstorm. This Wasteland's insane. Just like so brutal. And then they play Pithing Needle, and I think we have to fetch here. Otherwise, we're just completely out of the game off the honest chance they don't have Stifle. And maybe they don't have Stifle. It resolved. So now they name Claw, which is fine, because all of our good spells are already in our hand. We draw Dark Ritual, which is just kind of the nuts. But the problem here is that we don't have both green and red mana, so we have to cast Ponder to hope to convert into something else. We find Petal, Dark Ritual, yeah, this is just insane. So we draw Dark Ritual, put Chrome Mox under Tendrils, play Petal, and just go off with Veil Summer backup. So we get to Nas with Tendrils out of the deck. Ain't that a treat? Put Ad Nauseam on the stack. Ad Nauseam is met with Force of Will. I actually stacked my Ponder a little bit wrong here. I should have drawn the other Rite of Flame here, but instead I didn't. So I take a damage for no reason. Which, I flipped the Echo. So one of the other cards here that I was thinking about is Lightning Bolt. And I stopped here because I was like, oh, if I flip the 10... Yeah, stopping here is just insane. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't keep flipping. I could have flipped a 4 safely. Like, Lightning Bolt was one of the cards I was thinking about. I also thought that he didn't have Stifle because I think you stifle this land so many times out of 10. But, like, I could have kept flipping for a Defense Grid or Imprinted Echo to cast Brainstorm. Because I was still terrified of... Stifle. And Survey says... Stifle. Just incredibly brutal. So we have to pass the turn. They attack with a monkey. They steal a Brainstorm. They ending a Mox. We're not out of this. We have Brainstorm. We find LED. Alright. We just jam. We cast Ray of Flame with all 4 in Graveyard, which is insane. We made so much mana. So we cast Ponder, looking for anything that does anything. We shuffle this. Find Ad Nauseam. Which... We're at 5 life. We can cast it technically. So how much mana do we have? We have 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So we could go Defense Grid into Ad Nauseam from 5. So I cast another Brainstorm. This finds nothing. Because I don't really want to cast this Nas and this Claw is off. So we can play Defense Grid, which resolves. So they have nothing other than potentially Stifle. And we just need something, anything here. Flip a bunch of mana and go to 1 and we're dead. Brutal. Stifle's a hard card to beat. This game 2 is not a good game. I play very poorly. We're just going to let this one run. Keep a reasonable hand, does the thing. I fetch up a Swamp to play around Stifle and Wasteland because I just want to play this turn 2 Claw. They play a Monkey. We play a Witchclaw Talisman, which gets met with Daze, which is fine. They attack with Ragavan. They cast my Brainstorm, which Theo always seemed to hit. And then they waste our red source, which is super brutal. Like, I'm feeling really out of this game right now. Just nothing went right. They attack again. They draw Chrome Mox. I'm honestly thinking about just, like, killing this monkey. And then they play a Grafdigger's Cage. Okay, that's fine. Draw Bloodstone Mire. Okay. They stifle our Mire. Is how it is. Play Nurse's Saga. Draw a land. And here's where I make the game-ending mistake. I cast Burning Wish, and I just get Echo for some reason. I don't know what I was doing here. I think I was tired. I took a big break after this and just yeah, got more coffee, got more water. Yeah, it was just brutal. I just completely punted and forgot that Grafdigger's Cage was here. Make sure to read your opponent's cards. So that's our first loss of the tournament. Brings us to 5-1. Round 7. If this was a normal challenge, this would have been the last round of the Swiss, but nope. So we're against MaxMagicer. We're on the play. So keep straight gas hand. We need to find a green source, but that's fine. Ponder can do that pretty easily. There we find LED, which is just exactly what we were looking for. Also find Wishclaw Talisman, so if Defense Grid gets countered, we can still play Wishclaw and then cast Opal to have green. They play land. Hey, it's another monkey. Smile. It's Blue Red Delver. It's always Blue Red Delver. So I decided to play Defense Grid here, or play Wishclaw Talisman here right into the days, which is fine. There's no reason to cast Echo here. That's just overly aggressive. You can take a hit from the monkey. I think that there's just a land on top of our deck. And these two lands in play don't matter if they get wastelanded. I don't particularly care about them. So they cast a Brainstorm. Play a Mountain. Play a Channeler. Play another Channeler. They're going aggro. Okay. Alright. Draw Dark Ritual. Insane. So, let's think about how much mana we have here before I get too ahead of myself. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's enough to go Defense Grid into Ad Nauseam. So starting on Defense Grid makes sense. Because we have backup Echo, just like super safe. So Defense Grid. We Veil. They have another force. And right now we're one storm short of being able to tutor up Tendrils, and they're empty-handed right now. But like if Echo draws us any amount of mana, we just win the game. It's so likely. And we find a pair of LEDs. Just easy game. A little bit of showboating here. Got to feel a little bit better after the last round. Find the Tendrils, end the game. Easy. Alright, got game 1. Game 2. On the draw. Hey, it's one of them busted relay hands. Don't play relay on turn 1. Not all the time, but like this is a hand where it's just so much better to do it on turn 2. Our opponent's also on 5 cards here. So they play a Tarn. Their 1-drop is the Channeler. This is the least threatening 1-drop in the matchup, I think. So we draw Veil, play land. So this is when we... Okay, so this is a turn 1 relay. Simply because we get to go Claw into relay. So it's for 5, and we're going to deploy a Claw and have a bunch of threats in play. We fetch Swamp here to play around Wasteland. If they force this Claw, that's fine. We get the card back through Relay. That's actually kind of one of the insane things about having Tutor and Relay in hand, is that you just get to do it all. So we hit Brainstorm, LED, Opal, Veil, Relay. Okay. We have Relayed into Relayed, or we have just have Aeve next turn. So that's kind of where my head is at. Remember, Ad Nauseam's out of the deck. Don't have that as an option. So on their turn, they get to do some Surveil things. Brainstorm, hit us for 1. We find Defense Grid. Okay, so we're going to play Opal. Going to play LED. Brainstorming here. So Aeve for this little storm isn't worth it. So if Brainstorm can find things to make more storm, which it does, it's very good. Oh, and Rite of Flame makes infinite mana. So we have to play Defense Grid here, and our opponent just concedes. They don't even want to see the rest of it. But we would have tutored up Aeve here and produced lethal damage, and they would have been very dead. So our opponent was having none of it. This round was like super easy to play. It felt great, especially after our last round, feeling not so good. This puts us into round number 8. So looking at this person's Goldfish beforehand, this person is known for playing blue-black Control or blue-black Delver, which is really kind of sweet. And you just keep this hand against so many fair blue decks. They got the good old Island Ponder. It's a much slower rate of the game because they don't have all the 1-drops. Ponder just saw mana, so we're going to shuffle. Pretty easy. They play 2 lands. Cast Brainstorm. They hard cast a Daze, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I don't think there's any reason not to pay. It's definitely annoying to have your shuffle ability taken away. But whatever, it's fine. We find some good cards. We don't need both Ponders. This Opal is kind of dead, so it's pretty free to put back Opal under Ponder. Or Opal under Claw. Opal under Claw because they play discard spells, that's why. Okay. Reminding me of past me's decision making. They play True Name Nemesis, which is like, whatever. So we draw Claw. Let's evaluate. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're actually a mana short of Veil into Ad Nauseam. So let's just cast Ponder. Or, yeah, playing out Claw makes the most sense. Claw into Ponder. Oh. A lot of matches. Opponent has a Baleful Strix. And this kind of looks controlly, but there's definitely Delvers in this deck, I promise. So they attack for 3. Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame. Defense Grid, which they let resolve. These we have infinite mana. And Grid effectively costs 1. I'm not entirely sure why I cast this Ponder. I think I was trying to get to Natural Storm, but just didn't do anything. So we're just going to Ad Naus here. I knew that there was the Chrome Mox on top, and that's why I did it. I thought it was free just to do that. So we stop at 6. Rite of Flame, again, makes 1,000,000 mana here. 1 mana Cabal Ritual. There's Tendrils. Game 2. Alright, so this has a lot of cards that we like. It's got Protection, and again, Ad Nauseam's out of the deck, Ave's in, Tendrils is out, Ponders are out. It's possible this hand is too slow, and that's a real criticism of it, but... So opponent has land, Preordain. And we're just going to be playing land go for a little bit. We draw a fetch land for turn and play out LED to avoid discard spells. And the opponent has Null Rod, which is just brutal. And we would draw Veil of Summer. Like, this game would have gone so well if they didn't have this Null Rod. We're just digging for Abruptigate right now. Draw Relay. Okay, Relay's a way out of this. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't play Defense Grid here. I think it's because I wanted to hold up Veil of Summer. If they had, like, Hymn to Tarok or something. They have Wasteland, which takes our Trop, which is kind of brutal. They delve up a Murktide Regent. Okay, so Clock is here. So we're on Dark Ritual, play a Defense Grid, which resolves, which I was kind of shocked about. And we're going to put a Relay into play. And just pray to hit something. So we hit another Relay. Okay. Got stuff to do here. We still only have 4 mana, and they have a Thoughtseize, which is brutal. I guess they're holding that for when we tapped out of green. Draw Aeve for turn. And we can't cast Aeve. So that's kind of annoying. We don't imprint on the Chromux because we still don't know if we can use it. We cast Veil, and we're just going to Relay again. Find 3 cards. Find a Brainstorm. That's not bad. Opponent hits us for 6, so we have, I think, 2 more turns. Okay, opponent has presented lethal. They named Goblin. Good thing we're not making goblins. Draw Lotus Petal for turn. Okay. Brainstorm. So, Null Rod is an artifact. We have a Defense Grid in play. Our opponent has no counter magic. We can just blow up all the artifacts. Who needs these LEDs? Which is kind of brutal. Put away both Veils. Cast Dark Ritual. Play Burning Wish. Find Pulverize. Blow up everything. And we're going to present lethal to the opponent. Petal, Petal, Aeve. So, theoretically, our opponent can only hit us for 6 in the air, right? They Force of Will a copy. That doesn't matter. They're on nothing. We got a chance. We got a chance here. Murktide is only a 6/6. They cast Ponder. They don't shuffle, which is terrifying. They surgical themselves to get a Murktide trigger. I can't believe that this stupid extra line of text ended up mattering. It's so insane. And then they just kill us for Xaxes. Crazy. Really brutal. Really, really brutal. That felt bad losing that one. Like, we almost beat a Null Rod. Now we're going to get into game 3. So they mull to 5. We keep kind of an average 7. It's very hard to throw back like Tutor lands and Brainstorm for me. I just like these hands. Opponent doesn't keep many cards around 5. We're just on land go here. Opponent is on land Delver. Blue-black Delver. We're just going to play drop, cast Brainstorm. So here's a Relay plan. We have an Abrupt Decay for their Null Rod. I don't think we need this Talisman anymore. We might not need one of these lands. I forget if I put back land or Brainstorm. Yeah, we put back the Swamp. So in my head, I'm kind of thinking about using Relay next turn, like maybe going Brainstorm, land Relay. Opponent attacks us for 1 because they can't flip their Delver. They play a Ratchet Bomb. So Ratchet Bomb is actually really annoying because it kind of turns off the play out a bunch of artifacts, cast Relay plan. So we fetch in our upkeep, find our Badlands, draw Veil of Summer, cast Brainstorm. We find a bunch of mana. And here's where we're going to shift plans. So this Relay isn't as good anymore because of the Ratchet Bomb. So the plan here is going to become Peer. We start building up mana. It's all going to work out. We also can Abrupt Decay the Delver if we want to, just to buy more time. So we're going to put back Relay and one of the other cards. We're going to pass. I think in my head I was thinking about if Delver flips, I'm going to decay it. And Delver does not flip. Okay. They cast a Ponder. They hit us for 1. They play another Delver. They're not taking up this Ratchet Bomb, which is interesting. I think they're just using it for zeros or for empty. Oh, we put back the Mox Opal. So we're going to shuffle. Draw another Chrome Mox. This Chrome Mox is actually super important because if they decide to blow up Ratchet Bomb and with the Chrome Mox trigger on the stack, we just have an extra one because we don't actually want to imprint everything here. So now it's pretty easy to cast Burning Wish when they have 3 cards. If they have Forced Daze, we beat Forced Daze. And they can't have anything else because they don't have any mana. So Burning Wish resolves and we get Peer. Pass the turn. And now we don't even really care if these Delvers flip. Like, whatever. They don't even do that. They attack us, play some cantrips. That's fine. They have 4 cards. We draw Rite of Flame, which is kind of exactly what we were looking for. So we just put Veil on the stack to see what happens. Ding. Now this game is easy. Veil is resolved. They don't even interact with us. I think that they were just kind of like tilted from missing on Force Will. They surgical our Dark Rituals, but that doesn't matter. I think we draw like 2 less cards or whatever, but we resolve Peer. You don't lose when you resolve Peer. So I'm just going to hit the fast forward button here because we just cast our spells. It doesn't matter. Our opponent doesn't even bother to like try to screw with us with the Ratchet Bomb. They just concede. So that puts us to 7-1. Round 9. Whew. We win a die roll. So this is a really interesting hand. We know that there's been enough like tournament crosstalk going on at this point that I know that this person is just playing super stock blue-red Delver. This hand isn't worth playing turn 1 Talisman, even though you get around days that way. Like Veil of Summer is too good, and I don't want to sacrifice the pedal to do it. But this hand is still like pretty good. We have 2 lands, can't get wastelanded to start, so we're just gonna play land pass. They start on Channeler, which, again, I guess they're not playing super stock. They're on Baubles, which is a little bit weird. I know that Ghoul Dukat played Baubles in his list. I guess it's to, like, Turbo Surveil and get Delirium, which is kind of interesting. So we draw Dark Ritual, which is pretty good. So now we can play up Petal, fetch up our lands, best lands in Magic, play Witchclaw Talisman. If they daze it, we're probably going to pay, and they decline to force it. Okay, this feels like a game we're going to win. We're pretty close to Ad Nauseam. We have a Veil of Summer. They cast Brainstorm. I think that they're just trying to turbo. They're just trying to turbo turn on Delirium here. I guess they had seen the top card of their library with their Bauble, so they wanted to Delirium it or to Surveil it away. That's why they cast Brainstorm in their upkeep. So they think a little bit on this Brainstorm. They play Delta, they fetch. They don't have the sorcery to enable Delirium, so they only get in for 1 here. Alright, we untap. Draw Brainstorm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not enough mana to play Veil of Summer and then Ad Nauseam, so we're just going to cast Brainstorm. Hello. So, cards to put back here are Brainstorm and Claw. These cards don't do anything. This Chrome Mox, we can again use the cast Ad Nauseam and instant speed to have a imprint trigger floating. So we fetch, play LED, play Dark Ritual, play Veil of Summer. Our opponent dazes. Our plan is still Ad Nauseam at this point. They put some cards in their graveyard. We pay for daze. They daze again, which at this point, sure, whatever, we're going to pay. Their things are delirious because they put creatures in the graveyard. Draw Burning Wish. Storm is 6, 7, 8, 9. And we can find Storm 10 off of Witchclaw Talisman. So this wins. So play Chrome Mox. Burning Wish will priority crack for black. Activate Witchclaw Talisman to find Dark Ritual. And here's the Tendrils. Who needs ad nauseum when you have deterministic lines? So that puts us up a game. Now we get into game 2. On the draw. Alright. This hand does the thing. This hand really does the thing. We have a Decay for Null Rod. We're thinking about Aeve here. We're still on 7 mana, unfortunately, with this hand, so we can't quite turn 1 Aeve or something like that, which would have been sweet. So they dropped 2 cards with their Mishra's Bauble. They took a long time to mulligan. I thought they were going to keep some sort of like insane no-lander. We draw Burning Wish, which is not exactly what we're looking for. Because of the context of our hand, we can think about Relay or Echo. So we just play this Claw on 1. See what they do. And they decide to force Claw, which is pretty correct post board. So now that we have this Burning Wish to do things with. So they play Land Pass. We draw Veil of Summer. Play Rite of Flame. Play Veil. They force it. Play LED. I'm just thinking I'm going to Goblins them here. Play Burning Wish. Crack for red. They have Hydroblast. They have flippin' Hydroblast. Ugh. Just so brutal. I was playing around Pyroblast by making Goblins. But their opener was Force Hydroblast. I thought they kept a very interactive hand where they didn't do anything, and brutal. Our opponent doesn't do anything, and we're going to play a lot of Drago here, so I'm going to fast forward through a lot of this. Our opponent paused a little bit there when they played the Wasteland, so I thought that they might have Force Negation, so that's something I'm thinking about. But for the most part, this game just kind of goes nowhere. We could have relayed there. I didn't think that 3 cards was worth it, and we would have gotten Meltdowned anyway, which was brutal. So now we don't have 3 mana. And this game is just super over. We're dying quickly, and we don't have any mana whatsoever. We're going to get Pyroblast, and just not a good situation. Yeah. Bolt us. That's lethal because we have to fetch to clear our Brainstorm. Whew. All right. Game 3. This was the last round of the Swiss, by the way. So this hand's great. We have protection, we have mana, we have things to do with the mana. Let's go. Opponent on the line go. We draw Aeve, which is really not what we were hoping to draw. Like, that was really brutal to draw it. So now one of the cards that we really want to draw is Brainstorm, put Aeve back in the deck. So opponent's on the do nothing plan, which is fine with me. Whenever Delver provides no pressure and they just have like these really reactive hands, that's fine. We're going to run out of Claw here. We have Veil backup if they force. Not that I really think I would have if they force, because just getting blown up by Daze is too bad. But they let the Claw resolve, which I thought was weird when they attacked it super hard in game 1. So now they play Ponder. Yeah, they have a Braid. Okay, reasonable. And we just rip another Claw off the top. Okay. We're in a holding pattern. This is fine. So they think for a little bit here. They play a land. And they melt down. Okay, we're just trading 1 for 1. This is fine. I'm playing Threat, they're playing Answer. 5 cards to 4. But they have a land in play. We draw another Veil of Summer. So here, I decide to run out Veil of Summer just to see if they'd force it. Because we're really choked on green here. This is really risky if they play a Wasteland and waste the green source. So they decide to force, which is reasonable, because I think if they didn't, I would have just echoed them. So they play Wasteland, and they hit our Underground Sea. which, accept, deal, that's fine. And then they have the dragon. And we're playing against another very slow opponent here. That's something I missed in doing these reviews, is there's a lot of timing tells that you pick up through Magic Online of like how long people are thinking about things. I don't like to record during the event. I'd rather just focus on playing it. But there's a lot of timing tells throughout all of this that informs a lot of play. So now we're just going to put Burning Wish on the sack to try to find Echo and pass the turn. So one of the reasons to cast Echo, or cast like that, is they have one card, so if they Daze, we can pay. If they Hydroblast, we can pay. And they can't Pyroblast the Wish, so we can just pass the turn here. But getting hit for 7 is fine. They draw a card. We draw Chrome Mox, that's fine, so we can imprint this Abrupt Decay. And our plan here is to Echo. Veil gets forced. So this tells me that they probably, and they pitch Hydroblast, so I think that they probably drew Hydroblast for turn, last turn, and we're holding the Force. So that's a little bit annoying, because that's going to give this Murktide a trigger and make it an 8/8, which means that we're dead to Bolt if we don't win the game here. And we kind of don't win the game here. Like, our only option is to relay and pass the turn. So we're going to draw 6 cards off this relay. We hit LED, Defense Grid, Veil of Summer. So, like, we're super good if we get to pass the, if we get to untap here. Which, that's an if. So opponent dashes the monkey, and it's going to put us to 1. They're also on 2 minutes, but not that that matters, because they're just going to untap and kill us. They find a relay, which I guess they could have cast, but it's probably not worth it. They blow up our Chrome Mox, just limit our mana, but we kind of have infinite mana here. So they clearly don't have Bolt. We're on 1. We draw Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual's great. So this is our last turn. That's very clear. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 9 mana. We have a bunch of tutors. Let's go. So starting on Dark Ritual makes a lot of sense, but also starting on Chrome Mox is fine. Oh, I just hit the wrong button. We're just going to go through this. So the line here is you rotate Claws a bunch of times, and then you cast the sideboard Tendrils. And we resolve Defense Grid with Veil. So, easy game. Yeah, our sequence was Chrome Mox, Dark Ritual, Defense Grid, LED, Wishclaw Talisman, Burning Wish, crack our LEDs, cast the Exiled Veil for Storm Count, and then Tendrils for the win. So, after the Swiss, that leaves us at a very nice 8-1 going into the top 8. This gave us the 3rd seed. So let's get into the top 8. Here we go. Quarterfinals. We're playing against one M. Mapson, who is known for being a green-white depths expert and is the only other non-Force of Will deck in the top 8. So this is a great pairing for me. Really unfortunate for them. Let's get into it. This hand's great. I love this hand. Cast spells, it does the thing. Game 1 against green-white depths is usually pretty easy. Like, what are they going to do? Basically, their only option is to race us. And they have Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. Untap, fetch up our Underground Sea, cast Ponder, and all we want is mana. And we see 4 mana here. So next turn we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So that's a turn 2 Pier. This is just great. So we're going to keep this. We're going to draw LED and pass the turn. Opponent has the Wasteland, so that only puts us on 8 mana next turn, which fortunately we also have Wishclaw Talisman, so we can just peer into the... So we can Ad Nauseam. I mean, Ad Nauseam's been a little bit sketchy for me today, but we're going to Naz with no mana floating here. Don't be scared just because your cards have been quote-unquote bad during the tournament. And here we have Ad Nauseam. Chrome Mox, Ponder, Dark Ritual, Swamp, Bulk, LED. Ponder, Veil, Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal. All right, we got all the mana in the world. Let's go. Show me a tutor. Show me a tutor. Show me a tutor. Ding. Flip again. Flip again. Because we can. Because we can. Because we... Oh. Stop there. Don't flip after you flip the Echo there. My brain was like, oh no, what if he has Gut Shot? Or what if they have Gut Shot once this happened? But that wasn't the case, so we speedily play out all of our cards, and the game just ends. We could have done the Grape Shot thing, but yeah. That was one of the better ad nauseums that I've had in a while. That felt great. Let's get into game 2. On the draw. This hand doesn't cast any of our spells. Game 2 is all about them playing a Hatebear as fast as they can, and this hand is not fast. It just doesn't develop, so this is a mulligan. This hand is sketchy. I'll admit when I kept it, I thought I actually had turn 1 Echo, but I actually needed to draw any land, any red card, or any artifact off the top. Any artifact off the top to do that, which is a huge set of cards, and that's probably good enough to keep. So we're going to keep this, bottom the tendrils, and here we go. Mox Diamond. Opponent has Green Suns, Dried Arbor, Flagstones. Okay. We draw Lotus Petal. Ding. So Lotus Petal is especially great because this lets us pitch the Ponder to Chrome Mox, and we have 1, 2, 3, 6, 9 mana. So this is a turn 1 Pier. Put a Lotus Petal, play Chrome Mox, and then there's this pause. I think my opponent paused for... We'll see how long it takes the trigger to resolve on my clock versus theirs. Took them, 10 seconds to think about this. So my brain is immediately thinking about Force of Vigor. So we crack the Petal, play Rite of Flame. And there's no way to play around it here. We just take an alternative line if they have it, which they do. They pitch the Collector Roof, and I think they talked about afterwards how they made a mistake by not playing turn 1 Collector Roof, which it happens. It was a very long day. You get fried. You see Force of Vigor green card, and you stop thinking after that. So we float our blue mana, and we let our LED get destroyed. And we just play turn 1 Goblins instead. Normally, Green-White Depths decks don't play answers to this many Goblins unless they erase us by making the combo. So we draw a land, we combat step them, and then they just concede once they take their draw step. So, Goblins get there. It's good to see the Goblins making an appearance every once in a while. Alright, round 11. Versus our only 2 losses in the tournament, which I made top 4. This is our last round, was to the eventual winner and to the other semifinalists. So that's kind of insane. We're playing against Delver. This person's a very famous Delver player, who's very good. This is a no-lander that we're going to keep. This basically is a basic island on a Mold of 6, and this hand's great. So we're going to keep. And I believe I actually sequenced Lotus Petal into Chrome Mox so they couldn't Daze our Chrome Mox, because I'd rather them trade Daze with Lotus Petal than with Chrome Mox, because the Chrome Mox is a permanent mana source. We draw the land anyway, so we can just not do that, and we get to actually use all of our cards, which is kind of neat. And we actually don't even have to cast Ponder here. I think I pitch one still to the... Yeah. It might have made more sense to pitch... Rite of Flame here, but I think this is also fine. So they force our defense grid, pitching Daze. So they clearly were not willing to trade 3 for 2 with our Lotus Petal. So they play land and they pass the turn. Our opponent is known for playing Brazen Borrower as a consideration. So we draw Wishclaw Talisman. We're just going to put that on the stack. Save this Ponder for when it gets the most looks at Veil of Summer at another defense grid. Because this Ponder just wants to become a protection spell. That's all it needs to do. So we have a Resolved Claw. Our opponent has Expressive Iteration, which finds a Lightning Bolt, and they Lava Spike us. So we draw a land for turn, which is pretty good because this gives us the 2 colors for our Veil Summer, and we find Veil. All right, let's go. So how much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's Veil into Ad Nauseam if we want it. Cast Veil Summer. It gets forced to pitch Force. There's no reason to run headlong into Daze here. It could be argued that we should have just passed the turn there, but I think it's fine. So they dash the Monkey. We're at 13. We draw Mox Opal. We know that they have Ragavan and 2 unknowns. They pitch Force, so I don't think that they have another one. They could have another Daze or a Lightning Bolt. So we're going to Ad Nauseam from 13. We have like 3 mana floating here, which is kind of neat. And they have the Force. Brutal. We're not out of it. We still have 5 mana. They're going to keep dashing Ragavan. Draw a land, hold it for Brainstorm. Dash it. They don't play our defense grid. Draw Rite of Flame. They also have 5 cards in hand. We're super dead here. They have Brazen Borrower, and yeah, it's just lethal. A lot of counter magic from the opponent. Game 2. So this is another relay hand. We want to wait a little bit to have these Chromoxes imprint, because just playing them out as empty is pretty worthless. That's basically just rummaging them away. So this is, again, this is the wait and relay hand. Give it a little bit of time. Opponent just has land go. We draw Dark Ritual, which is pretty good. Again, we can even think about imprinting this Dark Ritual, but there's no pressure on us. We can just wait a little bit longer. They have end of turn Brainstorm. They fetch. They dash Monkey. There's a lot of Ragavans in this challenge, in this showcase. Draw another Dark Ritual. So we're going to split these rituals between the Chrome Moxen, because we need to start doing something, apply a little bit of pressure, and we also get to go Defense Grid into Relay this here and just draw a couple extra cards. So Defense Grid is met with Force of Will. Play out the empty Chrome Mox. And then we cast Relay. For 7. Whew. And we hit Aeve, we hit a pair of Relays, we hit a Wishclaw Talisman. It's going pretty well. Okay. Our opponent plays a Narset and passes. We untap. We draw Brainstorm. So we can't quite cast Brainstorm, and our storm count here is actually kind of low. So we can go 1, 2, 3, but that kind of loses to a lot of things, so we don't actually have a ton of mana here. So we fetch. Let's get our mana into play. Develop our mana. We go Dark Ritual. Wishclaw Talisman, which they force. We play Rite of Flame. So the thing about playing Rite of Flame is that cuts us off green, 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 and I don't think that Aeve for 4 is good enough, because that they play like a Murktide, they play a Dragon's Rage Channeler with Delirium, and then nothing gets done. Instead, we can just double Relay here for 5 and 6 and draw 10 cards, which I think is good enough. And it's better than playing Aeve for 4. So we hit LED, pop this out, make it a little bit bigger. So many zones. So we hit LED, Defense Grid, Volk, Claw, Petal. It's a little bit hard to tell what's going on. There's just a lot of zones. We cast our next one. So we have a lot of cards to play with next turn. And this Narset doesn't matter. Narset found Narset, which they did pitch to force, so this is gone. So we have a whole boatload of cards to untap with next turn. Aeve not being among them. They find Null Rod, which is just insanely brutal. But we're gonna pulverize the Null Rod again. So let's get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. Draw for turn. We find Witchclaw Talisman. That's not really what we're looking for. We have Volcanic here, so we have 2 mountains. So we can cast all of our Rite of Flames. Cast all 4 Rite of Flames again. I think I'd cast all 4 Rite of Flames in a match so many times this tournament. That's mostly thanks to Relay just drawing infinite cards. So play a Defense Grid. Now we play a Veil of Summers because we're going to blow up our own Defense Grid to get these claws active. We're going to Pulverize. Just left with an Underground Sea. Petal, Petal. Claw. LED. And now we have Wish Tendrils. Boom. Game 3. We forced a game 3. All right, let's go. This hand was such a trap. I saw Aeve and I was like, all right, I want to keep. But as I mentioned earlier, Aeve in hand is so bad. This hand is not a keep. I should not have kept this hand. I think I was just tired. I think I wanted the tournament to be over, but I should not have kept this hand. Draw Witchclaw Talisman, that's fine. We actually do some interesting things this game, but it mostly came down to my decision that this card is not castable from your hand. That's what this tournament beat into my head. They cast a Brainstorm on our end step. And I think they just dash. No, they just patch with 2 mana. So we draw Veil of Summer. Okay, so we play Petal. We have an option here just to pass, but I think just trying to develop is a little bit better. Just get off this AV plan. We play Defense Grid. They Brainstorm a response. They daze, we pay. Okay. We can play Opal. And we can play out Witchclaw Talisman. We're kind of all in here. We have no mana, nothing to do. Our hand is garbage. And they have Raid the Witchclaw Talisman. That's kind of the end of the tournament for me. Like, we only have 1 mana to do things with. Draw Burning Wish, have to pass. Like, this Defense Grid doesn't even matter. And they just go right by it. They Wasteland us. We're super dead. Draw Brainstorm, can't cast it. They dash Ragavan again. They fetch. Yeah. They bounce the Defense Grid. It's just so over. They Pyroblast our Brainstorm. We're super dead. Draw their Brainstorm. Find a bunch of mana. But this doesn't do anything. We need to untap to do anything. Their Delver doesn't flip. They dash Ragavan. We take 7. Or we take 6, sorry. They flip our AV. So our out here is to get them to force something. So we can Veil Summer to draw into some card. So we play our Lotus Petal. We're going to go Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame. Burning Wish. Burning Wish resolves, and that's nothing. That's the end of the tournament run. Brutal. I think it all comes down to the Game 3 Mulligan decision. I don't think that 7 was a keep. I was just enamored with keeping AV. Yeah. So, post-tournament, I guess thoughts on the deck list. I really like it. I think Bryant will sing the praises of this card. I think this card is, like, exactly fine. If we didn't have this card and we were just playing the Tendrils in the main deck still, like we were just boarding out Ponders and Ad Nauseam for 5 cards, 3 Relays and 2 Decays, I think that would be exactly fine. We could replace this card with, like, Massacre or something if Death and Taxes gets popular. I could see that happening. Aeve has also been very good. I think it's less threatening than it was in early weeks because people know about it. I'm super excited for this run, and this means that I get to play in the Legacy Championship Showcase qualifier in a couple of months. That's the small event that's like about 30 players. I'm excited to be playing in that again. I top 8'd it last time after 5-0ing the Swiss. I'm going to try to do better next time. Yeah, TES is great. This list is really good against Delver. It struggles a little bit against Jeskai. We're great against Bant as well. Yeah, it's a blue killer. And we got this cool transformational sideboard that's been really great. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please comment, please like, please share the video. If you're interested in all the other content that Bryant has to offer, that I have to offer, please subscribe. It's great. You can hit that notification bell, all those other little YouTube things. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Brian Cook here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, but also follow the social media channels down below. If you want to support this content directly, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/shop. And if you need a little bit of assistance with the Epic Storm to get to that next level, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/tutoring. Don't worry, there's more great content coming right up.